Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this another opportunity to be here this evening. It's a great opportunity that we are having Miss Immaculate Okello, who will be really lecturing us on this important topic about the nutrition. Yes, nutrition is very, very important for us to be aware of what we eat, what we put into our mouth, through the mouth, to the stomach, to the small intestine, and to benefit the whole body. So it's very important that we are aware of our food, and as we are aware, before the food is out of the body is called whatever, like Lumonde in Uganda or Matoke, but when it gets through the body, the language changes, as we'll see, as we'll get to know by our educator today, Immaculate Okello. So, Miss Immaculate, can you put on your...
Hi.
Yes, okay, you're on. And then your video as well, in case of the sharing. Can put your video as well. Yeah.
I'll turn on my video just to say hello, and then I'll start sharing my screen.
Yeah. And then, yes. Because the people in Uganda, it's coming to 10.
Yeah, it's coming to 10:30.
So it's getting late for them. So you are welcome to Uganda Muslim community in UK here. This session is mainly for the youth, but we have some elders in background. As you can see, most of them, they are home, so they are elders in background as well. So you are welcome on this session. And I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you and to thank you as well for accepting this request. It wasn't a long time as we have started to connect with you through one of our nurses at the Sydenham Dental Practice. I was discussing with her about the food we are eating that day, and she told me, oh, I know someone who can help you about your food stuff. And on top of that, she's from Uganda. I said, wow, that is good.
Yeah.
So that was how we started this journey. So you are welcome.
Thank you.
Because of the time, so I will not waste a lot of it. So I can leave the floor to you. And as I understand, you have some slides, so you can start if you are ready.
All right, thank you. Let me share my screen.
Yes, as we are waiting for the screen to start, please, can you call your friends, those who are having the link, send to your friends, because this information is very, very important. Because as we get to know the food we are eating, then we get the energy to do the ibadah we have to do. Thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it, yes.
All right. Which version are you seeing? I'm looking at two screens at the same time.
We are seeing common terms.
Okay.
Carbohydrates, protein, fats, minerals, and vitamins. That's the one we are seeing at the moment.
All right.
Maybe you need to go up. Yeah, now we can see nutrition, well-being, basics. Maybe that's the first slide.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll start. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Immaculate Okello, and I'm a nutritionist by profession. I'm And also I'm a scholar. I just completed my master's in public health. And I've also practiced a bit of nutrition back home in Uganda. I was working majorly in refugee settlement. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share a few basics on nutrition and well-being. I'm glad to be here, and I tried to make this presentation as brief and as simplified as possible to allow all of us to at least get a take-home message and understand something from today's presentation. So feel free to pop any questions in the chat. If you have any questions towards the end, feel free to ask me as well. Yeah, so this presentation is following just a brief request to give an explanation on the few common terms and things we talk about when we look at nutrition and well-being. For example, on this slide, there are key things that we're looking at, common terms that you hear people talking about, say nutrition, carbohydrates, protein, fat, and minerals and vitamins. So the simplest definition for nutrition that I can give is anything literally that concerns the food that we eat, anything that talks about the study of food, what foods we can eat, where we get those foods, what do those foods contain, and in this sense, would refer to these as nutrients. The nutrients are the different things that our bodies get when we break down the food that we eat. And the other terms that are listed there, the carbohydrate, protein, fat, minerals, and vitamins. These are just different types and kinds of nutrients that are found in different foods. So when you eat, let's say you eat, on this slide, I'm seeing cabbage, there's bread, there's rice, there are apples, there's fish, there's chicken. So when we eat these different foods, our bodies break them down into smaller components that your body can use to function properly and efficiently. And this slide gives us an overview of the different food groups and their purposes for us to easily remember, especially when you're hearing people telling you about a balanced diet. What exactly am I looking out for if you're telling me to consume a balanced diet? So majorly, we shall look at 3 major groups of food, and they are categorized according to what they do in our bodies. For example, the first group, which we will call the grow foods, as the name suggests, these foods help us to grow. And which foods are contained in this particular group? Majorly, these are proteins, and these proteins can either be from animals or from plants. And when you look at animal proteins, it can be beef, it can be fish, it can be meat, it can be chicken. And also when you look at the plant proteins, we have beans, we have the yellow beans, we have cowpeas, we have binewa and groundnuts, and so forth. We also have milk, which acts as a grow food. And then in the second food group, we have the glow foods, which comprises minerals and vitamins. When you look at minerals and vitamins, there are a number of minerals and vitamins. For example, when we talk about minerals, there's calcium, which is important for your bones, for your teeth, and for other processes. We also have vitamins, which can also be categorized depending on how your body absorbs them or uses them. Like there are vitamins which your body absorbs better if you eat them in foods that have a bit of fat or oil. And these vitamins are mostly found in dark green leafy vegetables or in meat products or things like liver and all the things. And then the other vitamins like vitamin C. Vitamin C is mostly found in fresh fruits and vegetables, and dark green leafy vegetables as well. Other minerals, sources of minerals you can get nuts. They are limited. It depends on where you're coming from anyway, but the sources of minerals can vary depending on your background and the kinds of foods that you eat. For example, here in the UK, there's a variety of nuts that you can access. When you go to the supermarket, there's lots of nuts being sold in kilos. And when you look at those, the major source or food group that we are aiming to achieve from that food group is minerals. And then the last one, which looks at the go foods, which are also called carbohydrates and fat. Their major purpose in the body is to provide your body with energy to perform its daily roles, like the food that you eat on a daily to help you do your normal body processes, get up and walk, run, go to work, go to the bathroom. Your body needs to break down food to provide energy, even for normal body functions to continue working. For your heart to continue beating, it needs energy. So all these things are broken down and supplied to different parts of your body depending on what you need. And the picture on the right side of the screen is just a few examples of different foods and their categories according to the 3 food groups that we have talked about. Another important source of healthy fat and oils would be avocados or fish oils or peanut oil or simsim oil. So yeah, it depends on what you as a person prefer to eat or what you can access, depending on where you're coming from. This slide is a brief description of what we are terming as healthy eating. And first and foremost, I'm going to mention the key benefits of eating healthily. And eating healthily in this term, we would want to term it as having a diet that is balanced. By balanced, I mean it's adequate for your energy needs, and there's a variety in the foods that you're eating. You're eating it in the right proportion, which is enough to meet your body's nutrient or energy needs. So when you're eating this food healthily, one major importance would be for your body to function normally. If you're eating enough food that provides you with energy, that means you'll have the energy to do your daily activities, to get up, to function, to your cells are working properly as they should. They have the energy that they require to go on with their day to day. And secondly, eating a healthy and balanced meal is important for you to maintain a healthy weight. And as we shall see later on, the importance of healthy weight and how it protects you from common lifestyle diseases and conditions. And then secondly, healthy eating is important for your immunity. As I mentioned earlier, we have the glow foods, which are vitamins and minerals. And these contain important, like these foods, for example, vitamins A, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, most of these, which are, as I mentioned earlier, fruits, vegetables, and nuts, they're important to help your body fight off any infections that you could possibly be getting, or if you are already sick, they support your body to fight off the infections that you're already trying to carry through. And then next, having a balanced meal is important for your body to grow. Like right from childhood to adulthood, our bodies require different amounts of energy. Like so much is going on in your body. People who exercise, sometimes you experience wear and tear of muscles. So you'd need to support or help yourself to get back to the form or the state in which they were to function properly. Then it's also important for you to have healthy skin, healthy teeth, healthy eyes, healthy hair, and a deficiency or a lack of proper nutrients can lead to different conditions, as we shall see later on. On the right of the screen is what I want to call a healthy plate, and it has the common foods that we have back home in Uganda and elsewhere. So on a daily, at least you need to ensure that you're eating food from each of these different categories. Like we are seeing a section that has energy giving foods, which has, I'm seeing matoke, there is potatoes, there is sweet potato, there is, what's posho? There's kaunga and kalo and all those other things that provide you with energy. Also in this category, that's where we have things like cooking oil, healthy oil per se in this section. And then the other section are the bodybuilding foods, which are also the grow foods. And here we have the plant protein, we have the animal protein. Plant protein, we categorize this, we have the different kinds of beans depending on what you prefer. You have cowpeas, you have ground nuts. In the animal protein group, you have fish, tilapia, you have mukene, you have chicken, you have eggs, you have milk. So it really depends. At least you have something from each of these categories. And then in the section that has protective foods, which ideally protect you from infections and disease, you're seeing there fruits and vegetables, and there's a variety of fruits and vegetables. So the major take home from this slide would be the more colorful your plate is, the more nutrients ideally you would be getting. And next, as we're looking at still this healthy plate, as we aim for variety, which can be seen with color, if you have a lot of color on your plate, ideally you'll be getting various nutrients. And then secondly, we need to limit the amount of salt and sugar or fatty foods that we are consuming. We need to eat them in small proportions, because we all understand that it's hard to eat food without salt or eat some of us, our cultures and our backgrounds, our meals are based on high fatty foods, or we put a lot of food oil while cooking. So what we are trying to say here is you start slowly by reducing the amount of salt and oil that you use while cooking your food until you get to a point where what you're taking in is enough. And then lastly, for this slide, you need to drink enough water, 6 to 8 cups. That's about 1 cup is like 1 tampeco, right? So 6 to 8, that's a minimum of 2 liters of water per day. And then next is active living. When we're talking about nutrition, it's hard to talk about nutrition without talking about being healthy and active, yeah? And many times when we say active living, sometimes people would misunderstand this and assume that we're telling them to go to the gym or go running every morning or every 2 hours. active living is basically ensuring and encouraging that you're not, for lack of a better word, sitting on all the food that you're eating. So in as much as you're eating the food, you need a way to use or spend the energy. And there are different ways to live actively and spend energy. This includes physical activity, like it could be simply walking around the house, in your compound, walk around the neighborhood. Of course, where depending on where you are, ensure that you're safe. It could include jogging, it could include running, and then children also support them to engage in normal play activities. With the current situation, many of our children, even ourselves, we are so glued to our screens, and sometimes we sit and work on our computers morning till late in the evening. You don't get a break. So try to incorporate a bit of physical activity in your day-to-day activity. It depends really, like most of these things are individual based. For example, if you work a 9-to-5 job and you have to be in an enclosed space, like an office, get some time, stand up, get like 5-minute breaks every 2 hours to get up, stretch, walk around the office, go to the bathroom, come back. It helps keep your body in a healthy state. For people that live in buildings or apartments, like use elevators or lifts, sometimes you could opt to use the stairs instead of using the elevator. According to guidelines, depending on where you live, for the people in the UK, the NHS guidelines suggest that you should spend at least 150 minutes a week doing moderate activity, or 75 minutes doing intense, for people that engage in very intense physical activity. And for the Uganda Ministry of Health, for adults, you need to spend at least a minimum of 30 minutes a day. And children, let them play as much as they can with a minimum of 60 minutes a day of moderate activity. This helps in different ways of their development, to maintain their muscle mass, to ensure that it also helps, for some people, it helps improve their appetite, because with increased activity, you will get, eventually children tend to get hungry. So the illustration on the left is more about your personal involvement in active living and physical activity. So depending on who you are and where you are and what role you play in your own life, in your family, in your community, in your workplace, what role would you play in informing others, in enabling others, in integrating physical activity into your life? How are you supporting your children or the older people in your family to live a healthy life? Yeah, so basically, that's something we all need to reflect upon and consider what our roles are in ensuring active living in the community and our own life. And then the last section talks about well-being throughout the life cycle. By life cycle, I mean from birth until the time we are called back to God. So this slide is, and it gives you an overview of the different stages of life. And my main point here was to illustrate that throughout life, we all have different nutrition needs. We have different expectations. We have different foods that are good for us or bad for us. For example, the first picture up is a baby. It's supposed to be illustrating a baby. who is below 6 months. And in this age category, we only expect these babies to be exclusively breastfed. Babies of this age group do not need any other food because breast milk is sufficient and enough to meet their needs. However, there are some people who have special conditions and considerations. And if you fall in this category, or if you know anyone that falls in this category, then you could find support from a health worker where they can advise you better on the ideal foods for children in this category. And then from 6 months to 2 years, that's when we introduce babies to solid foods, while we also continue breastfeeding them. Soft foods, porridges, and other foods that we can give babies. And then the next, we have children of school-going age. Here, children start to eat the common foods that the family is eating. They can eat, they're dependent. You can engage them in cooking. You can show them like what to do, ask them what they want to eat, involve them in the whole decision-making process to ensure that they also know and learn more about healthy eating. And then in the next category, we see children who are a bit older and they've reached their adolescent stage from like 10 to 19 years. This is another important stage of growth where we have children who have increased needs. Girls are also growing into women, and sometimes they will need more of certain nutrients, for example, iron, so that they meet their needs, their iron needs, and they do not become anemic. You could also have the next stage during pregnancy, which is very important. It's the start of life, and women who are pregnant or who are breastfeeding have special nutrient needs. Same applies to our judges. Their nutrient needs also differ from our very own. But the key take-home point here is our nutrient needs will vary depending on person to person. It depends on your age, it will depend on your gender, it will depend on your body size, it could also depend on your genetics, it can also depend on your health status. If you have, like, there are some people who are living with certain conditions, and meeting their nutrient needs will not be the same as people who are, let me say, considered healthy. There are also people who are taking certain medications which would impact or influence on the kinds of foods that we would advise them to consume. So basically, these are just general messages and recommendations. With nutrition, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's just, we all need the same nutrients, it's just in different quantities. So for more information, you need to have like a one-on-one consultation with a nutritionist or a health practitioner. And then this slide is just a brief overview of the common challenges and problems that we have, which are related to nutrition. As I said earlier, when we talk about balanced diets or healthy eating, we are majorly looking at a variety in our meals, so that when you're having a variety in your meal, if you miss out a nutrient from one food, you can always get it from another food on your plate. And then secondly, we are also looking at the proportions or the amounts of food that you're eating. As we can see, there's a scale down here on the screen, and it shows calories in and calories out. So if you're eating much more than your body is using, then it will lead to weight
It seems
Hello.
we lost Immaculate. You are there now?
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Yeah, we lost your voice.
Pardon?
We lost you for a minute ago, something like that.
A minute. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. Something's wrong with my internet, I think. Am I back?
Yeah, it's back now. Yes.
Okay. Where should I start from? Can I start from the weight gain?
Yeah, weight gain, yes.
Okay. So as I had earlier mentioned, weight gain and calories in and calories out, if you're eating much more than you are using and much more than your body requires, then you're prone to gaining weight, and oftentimes this weight may be deposited in the wrong places, for example, around your stomach, and this could be the start of so many conditions. For example, high cholesterol levels, you could have back pain, heart disease, heart conditions, high blood pressure, diabetes, and cancers, amongst others. So your major aim here is to ensure that you have a healthy weight. And then secondly, there are also people that do not have enough. Like there are people that will be underweight because they're eating, the calories in are fewer than the calories that are getting out. They're using much more energy than they are taking in. And then also you could have mineral and vitamin deficiencies, which could show on different body parts as different conditions. Really depends. It could show on your skin, it could show in your eyes, your hair quality, your nails. And of major concern currently is obesity and excess weight. It's a trend that is quite common, especially amongst the UK community, to be specific, in the boroughs of London. And majorly, I believe this is quite related to our diet and our levels of physical activity. And the colors that we are seeing on the upper right side of the screen, we're seeing a darker purple, and this is just an average of children who are obese. That means the amount of weight that their skeleton is supporting is too much or too heavy. And eventually this leads to, it's like the start of different diseases. And usually when obesity, all these conditions start during your childhood, there's a higher possibility that as you grow into an adult, you will also be obese. And eventually this affects your health. It also affects your quality of life. And having to live with some of these conditions is a bit challenging. So that was just to give you an overview of the burden of the common problems that we face because of diet and nutrition. And then lastly, oh, sorry, where's my screen moving? Okay. Lastly, this is just a summary or a take home from this presentation. When you're consuming food on a day-to-day, ensure that your diet is rich in whole grains like whole wheat bread, there's kalo, there is millet, also rice, posho that is not grade 1 over polished per se. You also have fresh fruits and vegetables, which are a good source of fiber. Ensure that you're physically active. Then limit your intake of fast foods and highly processed food. And these are common foods that are quite common in the Western world. You have KFC, McDonald's, and some of the foods some canned foods are also very highly processed, and they have a lot of salt, much more than your body requires. And then avoid foods and drinks that are high in sugars, particularly sodas and fizzy drinks. This is particularly a challenge back home, especially in Uganda, where it has become a norm, especially in boarding schools, some of which I attended, where when our parents come to visit us, they will pack you with sodas and processed juice concentrates, which these are quite high in sugar and are particularly bad for your teeth and your health in general. And then whenever possible, please choose fresh foods because they're more organic and they're less processed. So there's been decreased additives that are not good for your health. And then we also need to support breastfeeding. We cannot forget children and the foundation of our growth. So when we support breastfeeding, we support women to breastfeed, be it at our workplaces, be it as brothers, be it as sisters, be it as husbands, or health workers. In whatever capacity you are, you ought to support each other. And then lastly, you should have a support system and be a support system whenever possible, because social support is very important in life generally. Yeah, thank you. Basically, that's all I had to say.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Wow. Very informative and educative. I wish everyone had a notebook somewhere taking some notes, because really this is very important information which we need in our day life today, because knowing the food we are eating is very, very important to benefit the whole body, to help our immune system to fight a lot of these diseases and infections, which are really becoming a common thing. And more of this kind of infections really are coming ahead of us. So really we need to see that our immune system is strong enough to fight these kind of infections. We thank you, Immaculate, for that. And one thing which was really very interesting about the active living, I think as we've been sitting for almost half an hour, or other people have been sitting actually from 6 o'clock, I think let us have a minute of standing to have that activity of exercising the body, you know. Just please stand up, and if you have a glass of water, have a water as well, you know, for just a few seconds. Yes. Yeah. So Immaculate, I was listening to one lecture during this morning, and one lecturer say that sitting is becoming another way of like smoking. You know, the way we are sitting, you know, the sofa, the dining, the cars, all this kind of transport. So it leads that the body is not being used the way it was created. It's just sitting and sitting, then from sitting into bed to sleep. Yeah. So it's very important that really you pointed out that active living. It's a new terminology, really. I've liked. I haven't heard about it before. So really, it's a new terminology. So anyone who have please questions, we can have a session for question and answer. And Immaculate, I think this is just a basic start of it, and it's a journey. So we will really ask you in the near future to come and elaborate a little bit more about, especially like the plate, because you mentioned about the carbohydrates, the matoke, the posho, the rumonde, but really how will our plate look like according to our food stuff? Because sometimes we see, we go to a function and then you have rumonde piece, you have cassava, you have posho, you have muchere, you know, on one plate you have 3-4 types of food, and then you have vinegar, the sauce, and you have the chenyanja, and then you have the meat, and then a little, so how will our plate look like? According to our food of Ugandan or African kind of culture. So I think we can start with that question as we wait for others to also bring some questions. Please, if you have a question, you can raise your hand, then you'll be picked. Thank you.
So basically, maybe I could talk more about the plate as
Right.
as I had earlier shown. I think it's best I show you again. Yeah. Yeah, so as we can see, this plate that we are looking at, yeah, this round thing on the right is I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Cool. This is a basic illustration of a plate, and at the center you can see there's a glass of water and there's an actual plate. I'm seeing beans, I'm seeing avocado, I'm seeing kaunga, I'm seeing what is pumpkin and suju. Yeah. And suju, and then there are some vegetables, greens. It depends. It could be in suju leaves. It could be in my culture. It could be bo. It could be cabbage. It could be nakati. It could be dodo. It's really a variety of things. So when you're serving food on your plate, aim to pick at least one thing from the different groups, these colorful things. For example, if in the uppermost section, I like matoke. So if I choose matoke, that's one energy giving food, which is enough to provide energy for your body. Then in the second section, we are having the bodybuilding foods. And the bodybuilding foods are broken down into plant protein and animal protein. So you would ideally choose one plant protein and one animal protein. Where I come from, we eat a lot of pasted food per se. So let me say the plant protein there would be groundnuts or vinegar or paste. I think that's what, or D, that's what we call it. And then the animal protein in that category would be meat or fish. So for that, I've already picked one food from there and another food from this section. And then amongst the vegetables, there is, I think that's called buga. There is a variety of vegetables depending on your preferences. Maybe you like cabbage, maybe you like nakati, maybe you like bo, or you like suju, or you like carrots. So for these, you could have a serving of, like a portion of nakati, or whichever green spinach that you can access at the time. And that's your plate. So later on, you can choose to have a banana, or there's guava, there is avocado, which can serve as both a source of vitamins and minerals, as well as also it's a source of healthy oils and fat. There is pineapple, there is jackfruit and papaya. So it really, really depends. You do not need, maybe one thing that is very important for your question would be, sometimes we serve posho, we serve rice, we serve matoke, we serve sweet potatoes. All those foods are giving you energy, and having a lot of them on your plate is not as relevant. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, awesome. Now, regarding the water, what's the best practice or principle? Should we have water before eating, after eating, or with the meal? What is the science say? Because in Islam, we may have another way of analyzing that, but according to the scientific and nutrition kind of understanding, where the water falls, first, within, or after? Thank you.
Okay. According to my knowledge, thank you for your question. According to my knowledge, if you have water with your meal, it will fill your stomach, and then it gives you the feeling of satisfaction, and that takes away the room for you to actually have a healthy meal or proper food. So if you're eating food and drinking water at the same time, there's that confusion of you giving your body that actually I'm full, when in actual sense you are not full. It's just your stomach has been filled with different components or fluids and a little bit of the food that you've been eating. So ideally, give yourself time. You can have the water before eating, maybe like 30 minutes before eating, and then you have your meal. Or you can have it later on after your meal, say a few minutes, 15 to 30 minutes after having your meal. And then in trying to achieve your hydration intake, which is 6 to 8 cups of water, you do not have to drink all these cups of water at the same time. So you could spread out the water that you're drinking throughout your day. It could be maybe when I wake up, I'm going to drink 1 cup of water. Later on, as I walk around, when I'm having my active living breaks, I take another cup. Before I have lunch, maybe I take a cup earlier. Later on, maybe depending on how your day is and how active you are really. But my suggestion is try to avoid having water with meals. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that. Really, this reminds me, if we can't have water with the meal in that way, then you wonder whereby we have the fried chicken and chips and then Coca-Cola or Fanta within that meal. That's really a dangerous kind of a meal, with fried with too much oil, too much salt, and then Coca-Cola and Fanta, too much sugars, and then chips, which is also fried, and so nutrient-wise, I think it's almost zero in that kind of a meal. And this is what in the Western, and even back now in Uganda, we want to provide for our children. So really, how can you advise the parents and even the children to be aware of really that kind of food combination? Thank you.
I think nutrition information and education, like change starts from one person. Influential people. Food choices really depend on key people in a household. Let me use a household per se, our parents. Most of the food the children eat depends on, one, the money we have to buy the food that we can access. 2, what does mommy or daddy like to eat? 3, some parents try to please their children and say, I'm really not in the mood to hear Immaculate crying all the time that she wants this. Sometimes parents want to satisfy the needs or the cravings of their children. And changing behavior in terms of healthy eating it's not a one-day job. it takes commitment, and it takes consistency in showing your children or the younger generation that this is the way to go. For example, myself, okay, it's hard because I'm a last born, so sometimes people don't listen to last borns. But giving an example of father figures or mother figures, or people who are older siblings, yeah. If your younger siblings ask you for, like they're always asking you for soda and you're giving them soda, try to replace that soda with something that gives them, that satisfies their wants or their cravings, but while still being healthy. Me as a person, speaking as myself, not as a nutritionist, sometimes I also like sodas. But instead of soda, what can I access that will still satisfy my cravings of the sugars? Normally, I would make fresh fruit juice, which has worked for me, and I bet it can also work for younger children. So if us as parents or as the adults start practicing healthy living, then it's easier for our children to adopt and get onto those practices. Then also, secondly, I believe involving children in preparing these meals or planning these meals is very beneficial to them. Like when you tell a younger child to help you, let's say wash the fruits that day, or give them the small chores, at the end of the day, they will want to consume that food because they took part in making the food. So basically, in terms of behavior change, I would say the change starts from you as an adult, we as parents, as brothers, as sisters, and also engage the children in food decisions within the household.
Thank you very much. So please, does anyone have a question, please? Stella, are you there? Any questions from Stella?
Yes, I'm there. I'm listening in very,
Yes.
Yes, she's given very good information. Actually, I was thinking about my sister-in-law today, and I was thinking how lucky she is, because she lets her little boy, he's 6, whenever I go to Uganda, he helps to wash the carrots, to wash the peppers when she's from the market. So she's already getting him involved. So when Immaculate mentioned that, I thought, oh, actually, that's a very good way of getting these children to be involved in their healthy living and eating. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, anyway, those who came late, the slides, if you want them, you can send email, then we can send the slide for you, for those who came late. Yes, Prince Abdallah, you have a question maybe?
Yes, I have a question. First and foremost, I wanted to thank Madame Immaculate for the presentation that she has given to us. Then secondly, I would like to ask, but before asking, 2017, I think in September, in Kasese actually, there was an outbreak of cassava poisoning due to the hydrogen cyanide that was in there. So ideally, the things we are finding as food or we are putting onto our plates, like how Madame Immaculate has elaborated for us, sometimes become poison themselves. So we are finding that we're having aflatoxins in there, we're having tannins, we're having saponins, they are in the legumes, the beans, the groundnuts. We are supposed to have things that are supposed to help us, like cabbages, yet we are having anti-nutritional factors like goitrogens and things like that, which some of them cannot even be removed by heat and something like that. So I wanted to ask Madame Immaculate, when does this food become poison to us? How can we get to know that it is poison, and how can we try our level best to avoid eating it as poison? Thank you.
Thank you, Prince Abdallah. That's a brilliant question. And I can answer part of the question. However, maybe I would need help from a food technologist in this sense. Okay, to answer your question, to the best of my knowledge, the conditions in which these different foods are grown will affect the quality of the food. For example, as you mentioned, like some of these foods, the soil content affects the final product that comes onto the plate, yeah? And while some of these factors can be moderated through cooking processes, I think I can give an example for cassava and what are these things called? Aubergines, biringanya. Well, for some of them, some of these toxic products can be eliminated by cooking the food like openly, instead of keeping it closed. The best way to regulate toxins and aflatoxins would be, it would be a role of quality control systems where they would need constant monitoring, especially for people who are large producers. Let me give an example of a livelihood project that I was trying to work on. So at district level, you have all these agriculture, like agriculture projects, agriculture officers, extension workers, and all that, yeah? So these guys are supposed to support farmers, and be it household farming or large-scale farming or big things, ideally they're supposed to support them in having ideal farming practices to ensure that the food that comes onto a plate or onto the consumer's plate in a family, in a household, is safe and healthy. So to the best of my knowledge, I feel like they have the biggest impact and decisions to make when it comes to controlling the level of aflatoxins and other non-nutrients in foods. I'm not sure if I've answered your question right, but yeah, that's all I could say.
Yes, thank you. Please, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, it's one of the tricky ones today with these pesticides and all things they are using these days. That's why we have to be sure actually where our food is coming from. If you have a farm in your locality or in your area, get familiar with the farm, what kind of the soil and what they put in and all that stuff, so that you are aware of the food you are buying. Unfortunately, for us in the so-called supermarket shopping, it may be difficult to know even where the food is coming from. But those who have, live, like in Uganda, for example, or somewhere near the countryside, I think it's better to know exactly where your food is coming from, and then that reduces, I think, the risk of these toxins and pesticides and everything, so that we can have a kind of organic kind of food. It's a tricky, question, Immaculate, to really for you to answer at this, stage. But at least it's one of those which really we need to try to investigate and then to get more understanding of it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anyone with a question, please? And Abu Najibu, what's your timing and whatever?
Now, mashallah, it was a great presentation. First of all, we want to thank our young sister, Immaculate, Okello for that great presentation. We really thank you for your time. And I hope a lot of people that have been listening have benefited from this. And also the ones that might not be here right now, but obviously will benefit from it later on as it's being recorded. But yeah, we thank you for your time. It's great, obviously, to have something like that. It's something that is new. We haven't had it. I think we had a nutritionist long time ago, probably, I think it was around April, end of March, around that time. That's the last time we had someone talk about nutrition. So it's nice to have it again, especially that it's been explained in the English language for some people that understand it. Obviously, I don't know if Okello speaks any Luganda. Perhaps we can get you to speak to our elders. Obviously, they're normally on here on Saturdays and Sundays. So if you're free on one of those days, we can get you to speak to them about, you can add both Luganda and English. I think you'll get away with it.
I can try.
Yeah, no problem. Because obviously obviously at this time, some of them are working or something like that. But we've got a big number of them on Sunday or Saturday. So perhaps one Saturday we'll get you and you can talk about this, mixing a bit of Luganda or something like that. MashaAllah. But it's nice to have you on here. This is your place. This is your place. Anytime you want to come on, we will be happy to have you. But we still got a bit of time. Dr. Uncle Sulaiman, we actually have more time if you want to, if you've got anything else that you wanted to add on regarding to the session that we had. I don't know if he's still there. Dr. Mr. Sulaiman, if you have anything else that you wanted to present or add, that will be fine.
Immaculate, what's your time scale look like from now?
It's 8:26. I have to prepare for a meeting tomorrow at 10, but I can still be online for a while. Okay.
Anyway, we thank you for today. If there's no any question, no question in the chat. No one is having a question in the chat. Let's see.
No, I haven't received any question.
Someone wrote mixed grill.
Oh,
there's something written.
Yeah, mixed grill. Maybe someone with the name Mama or Mama. We can give them the microphone. Maybe they wanted to say something regarding that. I gave them the microphone. Mama, do you want to add something on top of that?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mama, where are you calling from?
I'm from West Midlands.
Oh, nice to have you on.
Yeah, it was just when they were talking about having different types of food in one plate. So I remember back in Uganda, there was, I think it used to be a restaurant somewhere around Wandege or wherever, when they used to put different foods on a very large plate and they used to call it mixed grill. So that's literally what I was talking about. It's just having different types of foods on one plate.
Oh yeah. I get what you mean. We've got it here anyway.
Yeah, because they used to put luombo, then they put suju there, avocado, monde, mogo, got meat here, you get everything in one plate. So they used to call it mixed grill.
Right. Immaculate, what did you say about that? People eating so much food all in one go. Like so much different sort of foods. I think that's what she was probably. Were you asking that as a question, or were you just?
No. It wasn't a question. I was just trying to say the name, just to name the plate with lots of foods all together. It wasn't a question.
Right.
Yeah.
Just for the benefit, what do you think of that, Immaculate? Someone actually having that much food with different varieties of food, like different sort of food types. What do you say?
I think that's quite common in our society, especially at a ceremonial level. like for parties and stuff, you quite often see people having lots of different foods. But as she mentioned earlier, I'm not sure I've seen the mixed grill before, but from the description she gave, what matters is good food is good food. There's no food that is bad. It's just in what amount and in what quantity are you having that food. If it's much more than your body needs, if it's much more than you're working out or exercising to spend the energy or to use the broken down nutrients, then it's going to just sit in your body and you gain excess weight, which leads to different conditions that are related to nutrition or lifestyle diseases. So ideally, if you're eating that much food, then one-off, I don't want to encourage it, but like as a one-off, sometimes people tend to binge eat, which is an eating disorder per se. Just eat what is enough for you, I would say. If it's a mixed grill and it's a platter and you're sharing it as many friends and you're all getting enough of the different food groups and the different nutrients, then I don't think that would pose a risk.
Okay, thank you. And can I ask, is it of any health benefit? Because as people say, to start, say, with the warm water in the morning before you eat anything. Actually, some people even say before you even brush your teeth, to have a warm glass of water.
Speaking, like there've been studies, there's been lots of research and all, but according to my understanding, I believe and I assume that taking this warm water it's more like to activate the enzymes in your stomach and within your tract, so that the meal you eat is easily digested. That's the best answer I could give.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
Thank you very much, Immaculate. We've got another question in the chat, but before we get that, I think we've got Hajat Sarah Semakula. We've given you the microphone if you have any question.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome,
I don't know.
Hajat.
Thank you so much. I don't know whether this is a question or just a comment, because when you talk about our home country, Uganda, where we get different types of food on our plate, I've noticed that people have more carbohydrates or starch-based foods than any other food, maybe even some more proteins, and they have very little nakati on the side, and they always call it like a side, kind of a side dish, but it's very tiny bit. We would look at a plate where you find someone having cassava, posho, kalo, yam, all those, and matoke, and then they have a big portion of meat and then a small portion of greens. Do you think that's really healthy? Because they have all the different colors of food on the plate. But to me, I don't know how the nutritionist would take it. I'm wondering whether that's really healthy for anyone to have so much carbohydrates or so much starch on their plate or eat it.
Thank you, Hajat. That's a very good question. I think I had earlier mentioned it during the presentation, where we're talking about the portion sizes. Like when you look at that, a plate or a healthy plate, the major concern is at least have one source of carbohydrate. One source of carbohydrate is enough. If you choose matoke, let it be matoke. If you choose rice, let it be rice. Or if you're to have very small portions of the carbohydrate, it should at least be giving an overview of your entire meal, all the food you're eating in one day. It should be like a third of all the food that you're eating. Fruits and vegetables, as we tend to call it the side dish, should actually be the largest on your plate, because it's packed with vital and important nutrients and minerals and vitamins, to be exact. And there's this common phrase, particularly in the UK, 5 a day, yeah? So 5, you should aim to have like 5 portions of fruits and vegetable throughout your day in whatever meals you're eating. Could be 1 portion could be a banana. You could have a sweet banana like at some point in the day, then have servings. I'm trying to use the best, maybe a cup of nakati or dodo or cabbage. Suju counts as a vegetable. Yeah, so speaking as a nutritionist, having too many carbohydrates on your plate is not healthy, because in the long run, it's when carbohydrates are broken down, their simplest form is broken down to form sugars, which is glucose in this case. So if you eat all this much posho, this much rice, this much chapati and cassava and all that is broken down to form glucose, which is eventually, if it's more than your body can use, it will be stored in your body, and you're not using it. You're not using it to maybe exercise for your body cells to work, or your body is getting and storing the rest, and that's where the weight gain starts and fat deposition and all those other conditions start cropping up from. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Immaculate. I have got another one, because I see with our lifestyle in Uganda, people tend to eat 2 cooked main meals. I'm talking about lunch and supper. And when you come to the UK, you find that they'll have only 1 cooked meal. It could be either they have it at dinner time or supper time. If at home in Uganda, if one had just 1 cooked meal and maybe it was supper or lunch, and then 1 meal was just a little snack or something very small, it is taken to be very someone suffering from poverty. What would be the healthy way of eating? Should one go for 2 big cooked meals in a day, or should one have 1 cooked meal in a day and then have something light, whichever time they choose? Whether it's lunch, they have a big dinner, and then supper, they have something small before they go to bed. What would you recommend?
I thank you for your question. Ideally, that's one challenge I had when I had just moved to the UK. The whole eating patterns and timelines and schedules tend to vary depending on where we are. So my suggestion would be that our bodies tend to absorb nutrients during moments when we need them most. So the best practice is to have 3 main meals. That's breakfast, lunch, supper, or dinner, and then 2 snacks in between, like 1 between breakfast and lunch, and then 1 between lunch and dinner. And my best practice would be the earlier, like if you're having a heavy meal, it should be earlier in the day and not later on when you're going to bed. So if you're choosing to have 2 heavy meals, at least have a heavy breakfast and heavy lunch, then have something light for dinner, instead of packing everything and then having heavy dinner and then you just go to sleep. It affects lots of your body functions in the long run.
Thank you very much, Immaculate. And thank you, Hajati Semakula, as well for those questions.
Thank you.
Yes, this is the challenge really we are having because diabetic, blood pressure, and cholesterol. These are conditions which are really becoming common within our communities. And as we are hearing, the food we are eating, it's too much carbohydrate based, and this is putting a lot of pressure to the system. So it's very important, as Immaculate is saying, that really, if you have a meal, then have one type of food, in that meal. Let's say for your lunch, if you have matoke, only matoke, and then binyebwa or something else. But not having matoke, and then a piece of almonde, then a piece of chapati, and then a bit of rice. Those are like 4 same type of food in one plate, or on one plate in one meal. And that's really is too much for the system. And worst of all is when we have this at night, especially before we go to bed. As most of our routine, we work very late, we come back very late. You want to have a meal and then straight away have to go to bed. These are the challenges we are facing because of the way we work and the way we live. But this kind of sessions really is to give us a little bit of understanding so that we can get empowered and information and educated so that we can try to make a change in the way we use the food or the way we eat or the way we do things, so that we can have a healthy mindset and a healthy mind-body kind of approach in our living. So it's very, very important, this kind of sessions, is to give us that awareness, to educate ourselves, to empower ourselves, and then to make good choices for the life ahead of us. So thank you, everybody, for participating. Yes, Najiba, there was a question you mentioned in the chat. Can you please?
Just to read out the question from Stella. She said, what type should lapse between drinking water and having a meal, especially when used as a weight loss technique?
Thank you, Stella, for your question. I read it in the chat, and I think that it's a little bit broad, because when you're looking at weight management, weight loss, weight gain, most of these things are individual based and they depend on so many other factors. I do not have a straight answer for your question. So it would really depend on which other factors, because I could tell you that drink the water at this time before your meal, and you're not doing maybe other things that are required for you to expend more energy, then the weight loss technique will not be efficient. So I don't think it's a one answer that fits all. Maybe we can talk more about other issues or other determining factors that surround weight loss and diet.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have one more question.
Yeah, no problem.
It's one thing getting all the different types of food, and it's also another thing how that food is cooked. Is there any food that would lose its nutrients if it is cooked in a way that is not good for it? And also, I find it mostly common here to see people eating meat, which for me looks raw, and they're saying it's medium rare, and sometimes you can even see a bit of blood dripping out of it. Is that healthy meat, or is it undercooked? And if it is it really healthy for someone to eat that kind of meat? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Hajat. The first one was talking about nutrient loss because of cooking techniques, yeah? As I earlier mentioned, there are different types of nutrients, and when we're talking about the cooking methods or the effects of heat or light on these nutrients, we shall majorly focus on minerals and vitamins, because vitamins can be categorized as fat soluble and water soluble vitamins. So let's say we are looking at vegetables, we are cooking vegetables, nakati to say, and it contains some water soluble vitamins. It has sufficient amounts of vitamin C. So when we say wash the nakati, some people even tend to add water into these vegetables. Ideally, vegetables are made up of like 90% of their components is water. So you don't really need to add more water. The best way to cook these foods would be to steam them or to stir fry them. Yeah, but boiling vegetables is not good practice. So there are some nutrients, yes, as you suggested, that are lost due to the cooking method. If vegetables are cooked for a very long time, you cannot cook vegetables the same duration as, say, someone who's trying to boil rice, or ensure that they are covered. Vitamin C, for example, is sensitive to light. So when you're cooking these vegetables in your kitchen, try to cover the saucepan, make it a quick cooking process. I think there's this food preparation technique where, like how they cook matoke, and then they wrap it, and then put the vegetables in a different, wrap them up, and then put them on top to steam. That would be the best practice to retain the most important nutrients that you're trying to get from that particular food. And then also sometimes there are people that they boil the vegetables and then wash them or pour out the water. The water that you're pouring out, that you've gotten from cooking these vegetables, most minerals would have been leached or passed into the water, that cooking water that you're pouring out. So if you overcook these vegetables, there's the tendency to be eating empty calories, like you're just eating food because it's food, but there's no nutrients that you're getting or benefiting from the food. And then your second question talked about cooking techniques and like meat, medium rare. Then also, it reminds me of how people cook eggs sometimes, like sunny side up. In my opinion, the most important factor here would be to know the sources of these foods that you're cooking. If food is undercooked, if meat is undercooked, if eggs are undercooked, then it will pose another risk again of foodborne infections and food illnesses. We don't know where some of the hens laying these eggs are reared, or the cattle that they're making for us in these restaurants. Like, we don't know what infections they have. Sometimes there have been outbreaks of salmonellosis, and that can be a challenge to different people, children, pregnant women, breastfeeding women, even us as adults. These infections can be quite serious. So the most important thing is at least try to cook the food at high heat, and know that, trust your source from where you're getting the food.
Thank you very much, Immaculate. We really appreciate your time. Obviously, you've got a meeting tomorrow, but you are still here answering the questions and benefiting us with the knowledge that you've got. A lot of us don't have the knowledge as to regards to nutrition, but obviously you coming on here and obviously teaching us all this is something that is amazing and nice. Thank you very much for that. we can't forget to thank our coordinator as to regards the one who got you to us, the dental hygienist, Mr. Sulaiman Insuga. We thank him for that as well. We can't forget our moderators of the day, the likes of Prince Abdullah, Rotenta, and also Shamsuddin when we started. We can't forget our teacher for the first session when we had Sheikh Ya'la Musa when he was teaching us about the second hadith of Imam An-Nawawi. So we really appreciate all that, and also the audience that you turn up week in, week out. We can never thank you enough for turning up. Obviously, you benefit in yourself as well to gain this knowledge, not just the religious side of it, but also the worldly side of it, as in the knowledge regarding your health. Is very important, no doubt about that. And you can never worship your creator if your health is not good. So it's very important to know about this health bit as well. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Just for those that don't know, those that are new to this session, we have it every Monday at 6 p.m. UK time. I believe in Uganda, because the time changed. In Uganda, that is 9 p.m. So whoever gets the link, please share it. Let other people know. Some people might be in other countries, maybe Germany. So obviously the time will vary as well, depending where you might be. So if you're in Germany or in Saudi Arabia or in Dubai, wherever you might be, some people in Netherlands, USA, you just check the time in your country, compare it with the UK time, it's 6 p.m. and then you can join. We bring different people on this program. So we'll try to get the person, a very knowledgeable person regarding vaccinations. Obviously, you probably heard about, the boosters. Some people are still hesitant to even take one vaccine. They don't want to take it. They've got, they know about the propaganda and all sorts of things that they hear. Well, some people, they because of this certain things that keep coming out, they keep thinking, no way, I don't want to take it just for that. So people are confused, to be honest. So we need people to actually clarify this, people that have knowledge. We don't want to hear us say, some people randomly saying stuff, maybe without no knowledge. So we want people that have knowledge to come and talk about these sort of things, like doctors or people that qualify. Yes. Yeah.
I see my brother Timothy is on. If you can give him, you can talk a little bit about the vaccination. Timothy there, if you can get Timothy there, please.
I've given him the microphone. That would be great. But it's better if we have in a proper session, but we'll give him a little.
I know. Timothy, you are welcome. You can give us a little bit of introduction.
Yeah. There you go.
Hi, good evening, listeners. It's a pleasure. I have been listening in really, really quietly and very attentively. We thank our colleague, Mrs. Okello, for the brilliant presentation. Thank you so much, Nyabo. You'll forgive me, I will be mixing a bit of Luganda and Luzungu for the benefit of everybody. I don't have much to say really, but I think the benefits of COVID vaccination cannot be underplayed. The world is completely changed around. Economies have opened up, borders have opened up. The dying in hospitals, the numbers have absolutely gone down. We're seeing new therapies coming aboard. So absolutely, there's no, I cannot talk enough about the benefits of vaccination. I think I'm a living proof. I've undergone all the vaccinations. And I think sinaba kuwulirayo okujjako the problem is gye tulina munansonyiwa obuzibu bwe tulina nti amawulire gagenda ne printing sensationalist headlines. A doctor contracted COVID after having double jabbed, dies. But they forget to mention that every person has got their own underlying physical health conditions. They've got various predispositions because we're all never the same. And that, there is the unsaid. So people jump on the headlines and they forget that we're all different and there's something that's not been said. So, and briefly, lwakuba sagala kutwala kazindaalo, naye briefly, I cannot fail to encourage my fellow Ugandans and people in the diaspora, and especially the BAME, the Black and ethnic minorities. I think it's a given that tufudde nnyo kubanga tubeera n'endwadde ezibeera undiagnosed. Secondly, we are so exposed kubanga emirimu gye tukola, we're cleaners, we're healthcare professionals, emirimu gye tukola egisinga giri people facing job roles. So therefore kibakitegeeza tuli quite much more exposed as opposed to other people. N'olwekyo olwa vulnerabilities ezo ze tulina ng'abaddugavu, I think it's a shame that again for abaddugavu or things that have been happening historically ate ffe tulina hesitancy, which is terrible to see in this day and age where information is right at our fingertips. So abooluganda basabo ne bannyabo, thank you so much Mukulu Sulaimani. Tweyanza nnyo, tweyanzeege. It's a pleasure being part of these talks. We get to learn a lot, but please continue encouraging our abooluganda bonna tubeere nga we go for these vaccinations. Vaccination, this is evidence-based practice. These therapies eziriwo have undergone wide and extensive clinical trials. The evidence is absolutely overwhelming. So, and n'ekirala ate abantu kye batamanyi, maybe bamanyi but they choose not to, is waliwo amateeka, there's laws, rules, regulations, and there's protocols to follow. Before anything comes online, especially medicinal products and medical devices, begin through rigorous checks. In that the people that work with the law, bakimanyi nti any kind of gap gy'owaawo whereby a medicinal product or a medical device can be attacked, then that's the end of it. Knowledge of these things undergo extensive, wide and extensive research. And what we know about evidence-based is so overwhelming before something can actually come for public consumption. So bambi mwebaile ddala mukama abawa omukisa, continue encouraging our brethren abooluganda bonna bane tugende for vaccination. There is no better alternative at the moment. Tewaliiwo alternative other than vaccination and therapies endala, but also the nga protocols wezibeera, okunaaba engalo, okweyarenga, there's nothing in isolation that works, but we have to apply all the suggestions ebatuwa okukola obulungi. But tetwelabira kulya bulungi, tetwelabira to take holidays and breaks away from our schedules. All these things added together help on our prognosis y'endwadde zonna n'emibiri okusobola okukopinga n'endwadde. So Mukulu Sulaiman, thank you so much. Mukulu Najib, thank you. Tweyanza nnyo emisomo gino I usually attend and I always enjoy. Whenever I get time, I enjoy. Thank you so much. Era Mukama abakuume.
Amen. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Sulaiman.
Yes. I think as you mentioned, yes, we will try to get more experts regarding this issue. Me in dentistry, it's one of the things we have to do anyway. And I've taken the booster as well just a few days ago. So it's one of those things, we have to do. And we have seen the numbers coming down regarding this infection. Yes, I mean the severe disease, it's really a bit slower. The number may go up for people who are getting the infection, but the severity of the condition, like hospitalization, ventilator use, or ICU admission, or even death, these are becoming, less compared to where we are a year ago. So there is evidence, but as everything new in people's understanding, it's a challenge to make this kind of decisions. But yes, I think we'll get more expert people to come on board, and then we will organize a session just on this topic. Thank you.
Yeah, we're looking
and
forward.
Thank you, Timothy, as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Timothy. We really benefited from that, and we really can't wait to have you on here. We can't wait to speak to hear from the people that talk about the vaccines. We've got a few people from our communities, even our own youth leaders, you all imagine, that we debate with regarding this, and maybe they think this is, it'll be really interesting to have you. Hopefully, a lot of people, their minds will be opened up, and perhaps they might even go for the vaccine the next day after that talk. So it will be nice. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. We don't want to waste any more of the time, obviously. The likes of Prince Abdullah is midnight in Uganda right now, but he's still tuned in. I don't want him to get in trouble with his teachers or his bosses at work tomorrow. So inshallah, we're gonna end it here. Normally I'm the one that ends the session, so today I'm just gonna give him the chance to end it, inshallah, to say goodbye to the audience. Prince Abdullah, if you're still on here, you can say goodbye, inshallah.
Barakallah feek, Jazakallah khair. Well, we thank all our dear presenters that have presented today, and the highlights and insights that have been brought into up for us, for our better understanding. And for that regard, without taking much of our time, we ask the Almighty God to enable us to make it next time, and probably ease for us the path, open for us his doors of rizq, and also increase us in knowledge. Ameen. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone.
See you next week, inshallah. Same time, 6 p.m. UK time.